So today I experimented with not taking any kind of dopamine enhancers. I didn't take tyrosine, I didn't take rhodiola, I didn't shine on the sad light or the blue light, and I did take Magnolia bark. I didn't know that it acted on dopamine until I was doing a little bit of studying of the balancing brain chemistry protocols. So I did take Magnolia bark, and there might have been something else that I didn't take. And I also took 4,000 milligrams of taurine this morning, as well as 18 grams of glycine, which is triple dose. And then I also had 6 grams of glycine and 4,000 milligrams of taurine half an hour or so before dinner. So I've upped the sort of calming amino acids and downed the dopamine stuff. And I did that partly because of what happened 2 nights ago, but even more so because of what happened last night. Last night was crazy. It was absolutely crazy. I again couldn't sleep, but I was trying to sleep. And this thing that happens that I didn't really think too much about, I might have said something about it before, happened where I close my eyes and I can see this energy, and it's like I'm looking into something, maybe into everything, I don't know, into like the dream world, and I can see all this energy sort of fluxing around, and then sometimes it creates shapes and pictures and things, and then every now and then it sort of coalesces into a very clear picture. I can see like a person very clearly, or another person very clearly, or a house somewhere. And so that was happening, and I saw a couple people very clearly. And then, like, I would be able to describe them if I was sort of making an audio recording, which I might at some point. I might record an audio of what I'm seeing. And I'm just laying in bed with my eyes closed, but it feels like I can see into something else. And I was thinking maybe it has something to do with lucid dreaming or astral travel, or some of the things people do, like try to leave their body and go to other dimensions. I have no idea. I haven't really explored that type of thing too much, but maybe that's what consciousness is doing, and it's having trouble with it, so it's having all these weird manifestations. Because I was having the whole trying to fall asleep, but as soon as I was close to sleeping, my body would just jerk awake, and it kept doing that, and I couldn't sleep. But at some point, I can't remember if I waited and kept doing that whole jerk awake thing a bunch of times, and then this crazy thing happened, or the crazy thing happened and then I still tried to go to sleep and I couldn't. I don't remember the order. But the crazy thing was that, I saw a person and then another person, but then I saw this magical place, and it was like a path on a trail. And it was like shimmery and green and golden and sparkly. It was so obviously like a real place. And I had the sense that what I was seeing too are real people. I don't know if, since conscious is non-local and it's not personal and it's not linear and it's everywhere, it's kind of a field. If I'm falling asleep and my consciousness isn't so identified with my body, it's not even my consciousness. Perhaps consciousness just sees other places and other things going on. And I've seen these things a lot, and I talked about before for sure how often right before I have that suicide switch of jerking up and awake and jumping out of bed and wanting to harm myself, I can do this kind of seeing where I look when I'm trying to sleep. It's like I close my eyes and eyes open inward to something else. And I don't know if this whole shock sensation is the shock of the body to withdraw the whole consciousness trying to travel around back to the body. I don't know why it would induce a feeling of suicide, but it didn't. It didn't yesterday night, but it still made it so I couldn't go to sleep, and my body kept just shock before falling asleep. But like, this thing kind of I don't know what Jason Silva says, rearranges my mental models, because it was so real. Like, it was so something else, something other. It was like looking at a person here, a person there. Maybe I was looking through the eyes of other people around the world in different places. I don't know what it is. And then it was just something of a totally different order, totally different quality and place. It was shiny, it was magical, it was angelic, and it was like a gateway or something. It didn't look like a gateway, but it was like, what is this? This isn't like anything I've ever seen in all these years of sometimes seeing these things when I close my eyes and I'm trying to go to sleep. So I'm going to go play tennis or go do something outside, but I'll talk more about this later. Like, this was really like, oh my gosh, maybe I want to shift and explore like lucid dreams or astral travel or these things that I've heard about but have never resonated with me at all in terms of, oh, that's something I really want to do. Maybe I need to build the neurology of being able to go to these inner places that are nowhere and everywhere. It's like this dimension of light. And it's congruent with everything I've talked about. But it's just, it wasn't scary, but at the same time, when I saw it, I didn't want to keep looking. I was like, okay, I need to go to sleep. And it almost felt like if I go further along that path, I just saw the path, I saw this place. I almost felt like if I went and explored it, I would almost want to kill myself to get there. Or mistake, I need to kill myself to get there. And maybe that's kind of what happens when the suicide switch happens. It's like, you get a peak and then you're like, oh my God, I have to kill myself. And then you go there permanently. I don't know. I wouldn't want to say that as a theory, but it's some strange mechanism. But I got this peak and I was calm. It's like I was allowed to see it. It was something totally different. It was amazing. It was almost like maybe I can explore that and not be afraid of consciousness leaving the body temporarily to go and explore something else. I don't know what it is. But then I also felt like maybe I shouldn't explore that. Maybe that's something I don't want to know about. Or I don't know. Or maybe it's the thing that's been trying to poke at me this whole time. It's like, no, it has nothing to do with you. It's nothing scary. Look, it's this magical path in a forest. And you can get there not by going anywhere at all, but inward. I don't know. I'll talk more later. I'll talk more later about how I got up and took more glycine and more taurine and more zinc and just laid and tried to go to sleep, and I used the cardio mood heart rate monitor with the chest strap, and I didn't use the sleep cycle app because it wasn't set up on the other phone, so I just used the one app and blah blah blah. I'll talk about it later. Even more important than having this experience of going inward and seeing this beautiful magical dimension of light, I tried a new shampoo and it makes my hair really, really soft. It's hard to see it there. So nice. So back to that story. I went out and played some hockey and tennis, and now I'm back. And yeah, after I saw that light, I can't remember if I tried to go back to sleep or if I tried and I had that shock awake thing. It just kept happening and I couldn't go to sleep no matter what I tried. Well, it's not like you try to go to sleep. So I got up and I had 4,000 more grams of milligrams of taurine for a total of 12,000, and that's the maximum I was told to take in a day. I think I probably took another 500 milligrams of tryptophan. I took 2 more zinc, and I think they're 25 milligrams, so that would be 50 milligrams more, and I already took 25 at sleep time. And I took 18 more grams of glycine. I sat there and did 3 spoons sublingually of glycine powder. So with the 18 I took in the morning and maybe 6 in the evening, that's a total of like 42, and I was told maximum 50. So I was pretty much trying to max out on all the different sleep tranquilizing type supplements that I was told about. The only one that I didn't take was the branched chain amino acids. And I was thinking, I won't have to take it because I don't really experience mania per se, but I'm going to try taking it, I think. 1 dose of probably 40 grams sometime. Maybe if this weird stuff stops happening and I'm able to sleep and I can boost dopamine again and then I get a bit high, maybe I'll see what it does to take the branched chain amino acids. So then I sort of have it prepared and planned. Because as I said this morning, I didn't take any dopamine boosters at all, and I was able to get stuff done. So I'm wondering if I should stop boosting the dopamine now. I was planning to stop boosting it May 1st, and it's April 12th or something. So I'm thinking I might try some dopamine boosters again. Maybe tomorrow, I don't know. We'll see. It depends on how tonight goes for sleep. So last night also, I had the Sleep Cycle app set up on my phone to measure my sleep cycle. But then when this thing started happening with more of a rapid heartbeat and not being able to sleep, and before at times when this has kind of happened, I put on my chest strap heart monitor, and it's like a hug for my heart and paying attention to my heart. And then I start this cardio mood heart rate monitor app. There's probably a better one out there, but that's the one I have. And it just recorded my heart rate all night long. And it's kind of awkward to look at it because you have to slide the data along all night long and it takes forever. It's not very user-friendly for long periods of time of recording, but at least it does capture all of it. So there were 2 peaks in the beginning of time, like those could have been indications of when I was like not sleeping. And I got up at 1 o'clock in the morning and I still wasn't sleeping, and that's when I took the supplements. So I'm not sure how long it took me to fall asleep after that. But maybe if I look at the video and how many seconds in, probably fell asleep sometime after that last rapid heart rate. So I took some screen recordings. It's not that interesting, but it might be good for me to have. And then it shows at some points that I have like no heart rate, and I don't think my heart literally stopped. It must have stopped recording data or something. But I took a screen video of that just in case, because if I keep track of my heart rate again and then it's never like that, then maybe there was something to it. I don't know. Maybe something is going on with my body. Because when I did see that heaven on earth or heaven inside looking thing, that beautiful realm, I was like, holy shit, I don't want to know about this. I don't want to know about something better when consciousness kind of like leaves the body or starts to leave the body. Otherwise, I might not want to be here. But yeah, so I'll share some of those heart rate screen recordings. So tonight I'll see if that happens again, and I don't think it's a bad thing per se, I just think I'm not really educated on it. And then I'm wondering if taking all these supplements for my brain is giving me my brain the right nutrition to sort of explore these inner dimensions, or this astral travel or lucid dreaming or whatever it is. And maybe I'm afraid of it, or my body is having trouble with it because I'm not really educated about it. And it was really weird. It was probably one of the most bizarre things I've ever experienced. And I've experienced bizarre things in so-called psychosis and mania and things, but this was the most bizarre inner thing. It's like I was looking right at it, and it was right there. And I was right there, and yet I was in my bed, obviously, but it was pretty cool, actually. It almost makes me not fear death. It was like, oh my gosh, I just glimpsed this other dimension. Definitely a magical forest. So I've been thinking more about oxytocin again, and I read that bananas are good for oxytocin, and I've been also having a lot more of those insights, and I wrote one down saying matter is light, or matter is how light plays with itself. So light is more fundamental, and matter is a play of light. Sort of like lower vibration, light, more dense. And I don't know, it feels like I had a glimpse of something, like I was allowed to see something kind of special. It might not be special, and I'm not saying, I don't know, it was weird. It felt like a gift to glimpse that. It's almost like consciousness was not identified with the body. And it feels like I had that happen before in dissociation, when I'm like awake, walking around, and I don't feel identified with my body. It feels like a similar process to that, but when I'm in bed laying there, it's safe for consciousness to disidentify with the body and go and explore. But then it still disturbs the sleep, but I was able to make myself sleep. Whereas in other times it's been hard to sleep, and then if I'm having trouble sleeping, I end up taking more psych meds or something, which then like turn it into this psychosis where I'm awake and this is happening, but it's different. I'm not explaining it very well, but it seems like the same dreaming while awake, like I was awake when I was looking into this other realm. And it's like something that could have something to do with that I just thought of now is when the brain starts to wake up, it's harder and harder to be in this world among people that are sleeping. But then, since that's the majority of how things are, then the awake people start to have trouble sleeping. And then the brain eventually goes into psychosis because one is having trouble sleeping because one is so awake. But then when one is so awake and seeing everything around, all this chaos, it drives one mad. So again, the importance of being in a more beautiful space, and I don't really know if that's true, but yeah, so this whole thing that I saw is shedding a whole new light on this whole shock awake thing, this whole suicide switch. And it's almost like now I saw that dimension. There's still the shock awake, but it's not accompanied with this suicide switch. It's accompanied with getting up and taking a bunch of supplement tranquilizers that don't kill the brain to then go to sleep. And I did eventually fall asleep. I didn't have to take any more meds. I was thinking, when it started happening that I was getting that jerk awake sensation, I was thinking, oh my gosh, I'm going to have to take trazodone or something to fall asleep. but I did take just vitamins and stuff, and it did work, which is good. Now, the only thing is hopefully it doesn't keep going like that, because I don't know. Maybe it's not a big deal if it does. I would have to speak with Peter Smith if I had to keep tranquilizing myself with that much of all the supplements. And I even had like a subtle fear of like, oh, taking all this stuff could almost hurt me or something, or I'll be like the one person in the year to die by supplements, which would be funny, but not really. So yeah, lucid dreaming, astral interdimensional travel. I don't know what this is all about. And it totally did rearrange my mental models. And maybe the brain requires certain nutrition in order for it to evolve the next bit. I was writing a bunch of notes down, just making stuff up about possibilities, and I don't have any idea if any of it's true, but I just find it interesting that I'm really feeding my brain, and then it saw something really beyond anything I've ever seen before. And also yesterday and today I took an extra fish oil, so 3 of them in the morning and at dinner. So maybe the extra fish oil is doing something with that too. Just because fish oil is good for so-called psychosis, so I was thinking it might be good to take more of it. And last night too, I did that relaxation audio and I was calm a bunch of the time, and then I started listening to something else on YouTube and I was focused. And this morning I was coloring and my breathing was calm while coloring. So the Spire thing really is helping me track stuff. And then today, by playing some tennis and some hockey, I was active for like 81 minutes today, which is good, because I haven't really been active enough yet. And it's also helping me to sort of remember to breathe in deeply. And it reminds me to take a deep breath if I haven't taken a deep breath for a while, which I never thought was important to take like a contrived deep breath, but oxygen's needed for sure. And also I've been taking haritaki powder, 1 cap, almost every day, so maybe that's opening up the pineal gland and stuff too. That's what it's supposed to do. And I wrote down physiology is matter over matter. So the mind can influence matter, but not our level of the mind. So the level of thought and how we usually operate, it can't really influence matter to the same extent. So we can actually, this was the insight I was sort of having, was we can actually, and we need to create and give our brain the right nutrition to be able to process insight and perception and light. So right now it's processing matter and projecting matter and living in the material, but it can go into this light realm that's a lot more fluid, and it's probably where we return to after we pass on. It's not like a heaven or anything, but yeah, so I don't know if I should try getting that oxytocin booster supplement that I read about, just to experiment. I got my Sleep Master mask in the mail today, and it does let in light by the nose. So then I ordered the Dream Sleeper, and then I ordered another mask just to try, because I kind of need a total darkness sleep mask solution. So yeah, and I'm wondering if one can feed oneself the amino acid blocks of oxytocin. There's a lot more. Dopamine is indeed a very simple molecule, and dopamine gets turned into epinephrine, which is like a stress hormone, and adrenaline, or norepinephrine, epinephrine. So, like, I was thinking about how epinephrine is related to sort of fear and dopamine is related to pleasure, and the dopamine doesn't take much for the dopamine to turn into fear. So pleasure and fear are really two of the same thing. It's just a very simple switch. Whereas oxytocin is a complex molecule. And I'm going to keep studying the balancing brain chemistry stuff. I started studying it today, and I didn't get too far into it. Then I started updating some spreadsheets and printing them out to review those. I also remembered something I didn't have in my emergency plan sheet is the option of taking Benadryl to sleep. And I did put 2 Benadryl beside my bed last night because for me, at least, it's not a psychopharmaceutical. So if I took trazodone or something, I would have to go off the St. John's wort and the tryptophan because they both act on serotonin. But if I took Benadryl, that wouldn't be necessary. So that would be my first option, as well as taking an extra quetiapine for knocking myself out if these supplements don't work. They did work. So that's good to know. And it's not like I was in a full-blown like so-called psychosis, but I'm really wondering if it's kind of switched to something else. It's like, wait a minute, you're not supposed to having this stuff come to consciousness when you're awake. You're supposed to go to sleep and then go inward. It's like psychosis is that inward process happening, and then we can't go to sleep, probably because of this whole like waking up. It's trying to wake us up. It's like waking us up, and we're awake and we can't sleep. It's like we're awakening. But since it's not nurtured and it's not helped with the right nutrition, and we're not put in a dark room to sort of sleep it off and make it totally dark so we can go into this inner light more easily. You know, like with the room pitch black, and then I close my eyes and it's pitch black. I think it makes it easier for that subtle realm of inner light to be seen. If it was light in the room, it would be harder to go into that. So I feel like a lot of these strategies that I've been using to combat like so-called psychosis and mania are actually showing me a portal. It's like if one doesn't find the portal, it continues to be crappy crap in one's life and disrupting the life. But if one finds a strategy to find the portal and goes into it, then perhaps that stuff doesn't keep disturbing one's life, because one actually goes into the portal instead of the portal sort of opening in daily life and then making it so we can't sleep, and then the brain gets tired and goes psychotic. So I'm seeing like, oh, I'm doing this thing for this one reason, but it's showing me something totally different. And it's giving me clues to something else. So yeah, I really don't know. I'm just sort of making stuff up like I used to, and yeah. This morning I was listening to this Inspired Tranquility audio that I got through buying some kind of bipolar audio, binaural beats or something. I think they just branded it as that. I don't think it's really bipolar specific. But I bought it because it said it was bipolar specific, but after I listened to it, I could hear that sort of sound. It's like that sound that gets stored in my brain or something. And so yeah, I don't know if it's the vitamins and the amino acids giving my brain what it needs to lucid dream or astral travel or whatever, or the fish oil. And last night too, I put the zap strap on my bed, like by my bed, because I didn't know if I would freak out or anything. But it's interesting how I was thinking I'd have to sort of navigate this stuff in June, but there's subtle stuff coming up now. Not as like a crisis, but as this like portal to some other dimension. So tonight, I'm going to have sleep cycle on my other phone. That's why I couldn't set it up last night. I didn't have sleep cycle on my other phone. So I chose to do the cardio mood thing to monitor my heart. But tonight I'll have sleep cycle on my one phone and cardio mood on my other phone. And that way I'll be able to monitor my sleep cycle and see what's happening with my sleep in the dark room and with this weird stuff coming up. And yeah, today I took no alpha lipoic acid or acyl L-carnitine. But the good thing is, I don't know if I mentioned, I might have in the beginning, that I ended up sleeping till 9:45 a.m. and I've been sleeping till about 8 o'clock or 8:15, so I was able to get an extra hour and a half of sleep, even though I fell asleep like an hour and a half or 2 hours later than I usually do. So I think I kind of made up for it, which is good, because as long as my brain keeps sleeping and it's not deprived of sleep, then I think that's good. And I wrote down something weird that came to me when I was drying my hair. It says, "One day drones will harvest fruit and food for us, so we won't need big clunky machines and monocrops with pesticides. It'll be like these like drones flying around in this big biodiversity of foliage and food and everything, and they'll pick the fruit, and then we won't have to have monocrops and like this big ugly clunky machines spraying pesticides. There really is hope for the future." Everything looks kind of orange right now because I'm wearing my blue blocker glasses. I just did my Peter Smith relaxation audio, which takes about half an hour, and I was calm for 22 minutes of it, according to the Spire Stone, which I'm really liking so far for a lot of reasons. And I would wait to do a video, but I'm finding myself to be quite forgetful right now, so I don't want to forget what's been happening even in the last 24 hours. Because after I had that weird night on Tuesday night where I saw that magical forest and then I couldn't sleep, whatever night it was before that I maybe had a bit of trouble sleeping, or maybe it was the night after, I couldn't even remember what precipitated that when I was trying to tell somebody about it. So if I don't talk about the last 24 hours now, then I'll probably forget. And I talked to myself last night, I think, but then I did the Peter Smith relaxation audio after I talked to myself, and I tried to set it up with the Muse headband and have the audio going and wearing the Spire at the same time using 2 different iPhones. But then the thing is with the Muse headband is if you're using the Muse app and you put the phone downwards to block all the blinding light, it stops running. So it didn't run. Actually, no, that was the night before, I think. Last night it did run, and so the data looked like my mind was really active a lot of the time, which isn't typical when I use that Muse app. So that's what happened last night. It did work, but it was kind of this erroneous data, it seemed. And then I was thinking to myself, maybe it's not erroneous, maybe my mind is really active and kind of agitated, because I hooked up the Muse and then I used the Muse Monitor app, and it showed that my brain's temporal lobes were quite active last night. And I took a little bit of footage of that. Here is the screen recording for today. I realized in editing that my brain was making a lot more sound today, and it's actually yesterday that it was making less sound. And so this is the one from today, and then it's going to show the one from yesterday after this, because I accidentally put it in thinking it was the one from today. But I'll leave the one in from yesterday after this anyway, just for comparison. But today there were a bit of peaking at 60 hertz and 33, whereas yesterday there was none. There was no red bands on this screen here. So the main comparison I'm getting to in all this editing that's getting confusing at this point is that the sound my brain was making was more today than yesterday, and that's how I experienced it in my mind and experience as well. So here's the next one, which was actually the day before, despite what I say. So here is the Muse Monitor screen recording. My temporal lobes look quite agitated in terms of this reading here compared to the frontal. And then in the next one here, there's not very many peaks, and this is strange. Usually there's a lot more peaks, but maybe those peaks correspond to the frontal lobes, which aren't very active. The temporal could be more the alpha, theta, delta range, I'm not sure. And then this screen is interesting because usually when I take a screenshot of this, there's so many different heavy red bands. Sometimes when I'm feeling agitated too, and here there's kind of nothing after 8 hertz. And I'll show a comparison to that after this. And then here is the decibel rating, which I had an insight into, which I'll talk about later, and it's showing a mellow here with the M algorithm. And the decibel rating doesn't go too high. I've had higher later on. And now it's back to this screen here showing the microvolts. And it seems the amplitude has calmed down a little bit. And this was a night, I think, that I had trouble sleeping after. And then back to the screen. And then I do a side view just to show that there are no peaks. And I've showed a lot of different screenshots before where there are peaks at certain hertz levels. And here there are none. So just comparing. I'll show a comparison to an earlier time. And what's interesting on that too, from what I remember, and I want to talk about it now because I can't look at it and talk about it at the same time, was that on the screen where it's going up like this and it's showing the different bands in red and yellow and green and bluish, there was like no bands across this whole part of it here, just a little bit of red in the alpha, theta, delta range a little bit, but no real beta and gamma bands. And I've never really seen that in all my experience of using it. There's usually at least 60 hertz, 33 hertz. Well, tonight when I did the same thing, my temporal lobes were still agitated, and then at first it showed both of these front points to be very low amplitude in terms of the millihertz, I think it is. But then later it showed the AF8 point, which I don't know if it's on the right or the left, was a bit more active. So I don't know what all these things mean, but I was thinking it's interesting, or I was thinking about something related to it in terms of how that screen shows millivolts, which is like energy or electricity in a way. I can see my vitamins in the reflection. Anyway, and then the other one where those lines are going along like this, alpha, beta, gamma, delta, theta, it's showing decibels. So today when I was looking at it, I was thinking decibels. That's sound, decibels. So it's measuring like the sound of the brain. So it's measuring kind of the sound or the frequency of the brain in millivolts, but it's also measuring it in decibels, which is sound. And then I was realizing that I could hear that sound that I hear sometimes that I call like the Schumann resonance. I'm not sure if it is the Schumann resonance, but it seems like my brain is making a noise that I can hear in my brain. Just like it makes images we can see. The brain makes images that the brain can see in our brain. We're not seeing it with our eyes. So the brain is making sound that the brain can hear with the brain, not the ears. Even though it does sound like it's all around me, it doesn't just sound like it's in my brain, because sound is kind of different than an image. Like an image is really localized, where sound is sort of goes everywhere. It's not a localized thing. So I don't experience it as hearing it locally. Kind of sounds like it's outside my brain, but it could just be in my brain. And I see this energy in my brain when I close my eyes and I totally black everything out. I've done that experiment before, but now I realize, now that I have a totally dark room, I see that energy outside my eyes too. That's what I see in the dark room, is this energy. But that's not what I was talking about, just realizing it now. So then I was looking at the video from last night with the decibels of the gamma, theta, alpha, delta, whatever. And yesterday, when I didn't hear that sound, or at least I don't remember hearing that sound, the decibel rating was like 20 millidecibels or whatever it is rated there on each of them. So the lines were all like up here today, and yesterday they were all down there. So I'm like, today my brain's making a lot more sound. And I'm going to have to experiment with that again by putting on the Muse Monitor app while I don't hear that sound. Okay, fast forward to April 16th, just because that's when I'm editing this video, because now I've had some time. Notice that right now I'm not hearing that sound, according to my own experience, and I have more peaks in the frontal lobe here. I didn't get to talk about that first screen. I managed to screw up the spectrograph screen by zooming in and out, and so I had to put in a support ticket about that. That's just a mess. And notice I'm not hearing that sound, and the decibel ratings are way, way lower right now than even the other two that I just showed. And I'm going to put in another clip of the first part because I didn't get to explain that. It seems that the sound of my brain probably corresponds to the point of TP9, which is the temporal lobe on the left side. I think. I'll check on that. So yeah, TP9 is the point over the left ear. And it's a really quick clip. I'll have to repeat it. But it's pretty much showing that the TP9 amplitude on the microvolts is quite low compared to TP8, whereas on the 12th and the 11th, they were both equal. So I'm feeling more calm and less grindy energy. But I'll repeat that again. And then another thing I was experiencing when I was laying there doing the Peter Smith audio today was like the back of my brain feeling quite like a lot of blood flow in there or something. I wasn't sure what it was. And earlier when I was sitting up, I could almost feel my heartbeat like going like this here, but it also like I felt it in my hand at the same time. Not like beating in my hand, but that same beat was down there. Like non-locally or something. I don't know. It was weird. So yeah, that's what I was noticing, how today I was able to breathe more calm with the Peter Smith audio and the Spire. I didn't have the headband on. I don't think it's good to do the headband at the same time per se. It could be the headphones I'm using too, because when there's sound input going in here and the Muse is right here to pick up stuff, it's going to pick up that vibration. So it's almost going to pick it up as my brain's active, when it wasn't really that active. It was probably just the vibration of the headphones. So that's not really a good setup. But I think it is good for me to check in with the Muse for say 10 minutes and see if I can get some birds and things, and then also do the Muse Monitor app. And I'm having these insights about how it kind of works and sort of testing it out for correlations. So yeah, interesting how last night too I set up the sleep cycle app on my one phone to monitor my sleep, and then on my main phone I set up the cardio mood heart rate monitor, which seemed to track my heart rate all night the night before. But last night it didn't track anything. I woke up and my phone was just blank. So that didn't work. So that's not really reliable as a heart rate monitor, unfortunately. And it would be nice to keep track of my heart, because that is definitely one of the things that gets all messed up when I'm going into these freaky states. And then also the sleep cycle app. I don't know if I forgot to push start. I thought I pushed start, but it didn't wake me up. I wanted to wake up at 8:30. So I think it'd be better to set up sleep cycle on my main phone, because the data doesn't go across devices. And yeah, I don't know about the cardio mood. We'll see if I have to get some kind of solution for that sooner rather than later. So I didn't get any of that kind of data, but I did take 2 zinc, 4 taurine, probably a scoop of glycine, 5 sunflower less thin, 2 melatonin, 2 quetiapine, which I need to add to my mix here. And 2 tryptophan. So I'm doing similar tonight. I'm going to do 3 taurine and whatever is there. And then this thing is here because this hurts my nose a bit, because my nose kind of goes this way. And this feels better. So I'm going to take those. And today I was planning maybe to not take the dopamine stuff, but I figured I don't want to get in the habit of not taking it at all right now. I'm still experimenting. And today's another experiment. I took the dopamine boosters, the rhodiola, the tyrosine, the skull cap. Those are pretty much it, except for Magnolia bark works on dopamine a bit as well. So I took those, mainly because I had to work today and I wanted to have that boost. And I can feel myself being a little hesitant to not take the boost, like, ooh, I want the boost, ooh. Even though it could mean maybe tonight I might have more trouble sleeping. And I might have to take another dose of the tranquilizing vitamins if I'm not able to sleep right away. But that is also part of the experiment. Like, can I do one day on the dopamine stuff and one day off? So tomorrow I'm going to not take them, the dopamine boosters. I might take them. If I sleep fine tonight, maybe I will continue to take them and then allow this whole energy to build up like it did last time over the last 2 weeks. And then try the branched chain amino acids to see what they do to bring it back if it goes too far. So I think having this leeway right now to play around with it a little bit is good, to see what level of control I have in both directions, in the direction of the boost and in the direction of toning it down. So tonight I'll see how I sleep, because I took the dopamine boosters today, so if I don't sleep the greatest, I won't take them tomorrow for sure. If I do sleep fine, maybe I will take them tomorrow. I have a meeting tomorrow about something, and then I have a dinner for my upcoming birthday. So lots to do, maybe meeting up with someone on Sunday, maybe working Monday, and then I'm starting to feel like, oh, I don't have enough time to do these experiments, because I'll probably get my vitamins in the mail on Monday or Tuesday, and I'll have to set those up. So there's a lot of work to do with this, and I am wanting to keep track of it. And, you know, as I do experiments, I start realizing, oh, I wonder if this correlates to this, so now I have to watch out for this decibel sound thing. And I'm finding the Spire thing really helpful, because today I was driving and I was focused when I was driving for a while, and I think it was because of where I was driving to. Whereas the other day I was tense. And I think I'm finding I'm not as tense when I'm driving now, maybe because I have this feedback of being tense. But anyway, today I was at work and I was tense for 23 minutes of the 4 hours and 2 minutes of focus. And 23 minutes isn't too bad for 4 hours. Like, that's a pretty small percentage of the time. It's like, I don't know, I'm going to just average it to like 10%. But in terms of the relative amount that this device tracks, it didn't track any calm, and it only tracked 2 minutes of focus. So really it's 10 times the amount of focus or tenseness to focus, which is a big ratio, considering after that I went for dinner with a friend and I was focused for 18 minutes of those like 2 or 3 hours, and I was tense for 2 when we first met up, and calm for 2. So it's like a complete reversal of the ratio. Being with a friend at dinner and then being at work where I was tense, mostly the only thing it really tracked was tension, except for 2 minutes of focus. And this thing, you know, it doesn't track every second of the day in terms of the focus, calm, or tense. Sometimes it's just normal breathing. But to show that I'm not calm at all when I'm doing that work, I think is pretty big data. Like, I've always had a sort of intuition that doing that kind of work slowly accumulates stress over time, and then to have it show in the breathing pattern is pretty powerful. So we'll see also what happens next week when I work, because I didn't have this device. I didn't work Wednesday this past week, and I work Wednesday next week. So we'll see. If it's the same sort of thing, then that's pretty indicative of things. And it's not like, oh, I can avoid that completely, but maybe there's a job I can find where my breathing is calm or focused and not tense. Or maybe there's something I can learn that would lead to my breathing not being tense. So we will see. You know, when I'm at home doing my own research and things, and I have like 7 minutes tension in a day, which is like nothing, and then I'm out and about and it's like 30 minutes of tenseness isn't that much. But when I go, how many times more that is when I'm at home, say 5 minutes at home, that's like 6 times more. So the 6 times more, like 600% more, is the bigger factor to me than 30 minutes. It's like getting 600% of the stress from that and 100% or 1 unit from being at home. And this doesn't necessarily give me an excuse to be a shut-in, but it does help me to design my life somewhat. So yeah, the Spires told me stressed at work, focus with that particular friend, and driving, I'm not always tense, less tense lately. Like when I was driving to the car dealership to maybe lease a vehicle, I was tense. But when I'm driving to a place that I feel is like home, then I'm not really tense. So tomorrow I have to drive kind of far for this meeting, so we'll see if it's like a tenseness because I'm meeting up with sort of new people and it's more unknown. Just like when I was driving to the family constellation, it was like completely new and unknown people. And there was that tenseness. And tenseness when I was first there too. So I don't know. So yeah, I took some screenshots of all these different things and I want to include them in this video as part of my research. And I do need to explore the decibel question. Decibel question. So that's a continued exploration as well as continue to explore with the muse. Today I bought some pencil crayons because I was coloring the other day and I was breathing calm, and I'm not going to sit and color for hours, but sometimes I think it's cool and I want it, and I got like 80 pencil crayons today. So that's a good thing about these heightened states, that I don't really hesitate to buy stuff, which can be seen as more spending, but at the same time, now I have these pencil crayons, or colored pencils, and I can sit and color and enjoy it sometime and do something that is completely meaningless. And I think I need some of that to counterbalance all this focused, meaningful stuff that I feel like I'm exploring. And yeah, I'm a little concerned about this temporal lobe flare-up stuff that's happening on the Muse monitor. I'll try to find some old screenshots of when everything's kind of even Steven. And I do remember when I was having a crisis in early October, mid-October, my left temporal lobe was especially going nuts. So maybe it's okay right now because they're balanced, but I remember in my October crisis, the left one was going like, and that's when I really felt that like grinding energy, and that sound that I hear that my brain makes is extra loud. So it could be good that it's balanced. I'm not sure. I am a little concerned because this crisis-y type stuff is flaring up now, but it could be also because I'm manipulating dopamine, and I'm not. Usually these last cycles of 8.5 months between crisis, not doing as good, and then the energy rising, it just naturally rises, and I'm not doing something to augment that. And right now I'm doing something to augment that, so that could make sense as to why it's sort of tipping close to that. But at the same time, I think it is good because I'm seeing if I can bring it back, seeing what level of control I have. And I feel like I might be repeating myself, but especially this last few days, I can't remember anything. I met up with a friend today, and I couldn't remember when I met up with them last, and it was like over a month ago, and I felt like, did we just visit last week? I don't know. And then I forgot his name, so my brain is in a somewhat forgetful state, which means I need to stay even more organized, and that's why I'm wanting to talk to myself consistently, because if I feel like things are piling up and I'm not able to share this experiment sequentially, then my brain will get more overwhelmed. So that's why I have my glasses on, because I wear them before bed, and after I make this video, I'm going to go to bed. I will need to edit it to put in those clips, unless I just put them all in at the end and talk over them again, which could be easier than watching this part again and trying to plop the clips in the right place. So I might do that because I don't have enough time right now to go through and edit things super well. So I just want to see, I think I already talked about this. No. I hear something, but I think it's just the rain. And yeah, I think I just sort of wrote what I wanted to talk about twice. Last night, hence the forgetfulness, I'll like write down a note of what I want to say and then write another one that's almost exactly the same. So that's why the action can't be delayed as much. And I have notes to go through about the astrology stuff and notes about sparking and notes in my notebook and notes in my iPhone and Mac notes and landing stuff. I'll try to hook up my sleep cycle app tonight. And then, yeah, I'll go into that other stuff that I have in these books and things when I have time. But for now, reporting on the whole sleeping thing is the most important. So yeah, I wanted to talk about that tomorrow. Hopefully I'll have a chance to at least talk about the sleeping and how that went, and perhaps the sleep cycle app, if it actually works. I hope it does. Last point, when I was doing the talking to myself just now for 22 minutes, of those 22 minutes, 5 of those minutes, I was calm. No tension, no focus. So that's like 25% calm. And there aren't that many activities that make me calm besides doing the actual relaxation audio and like the coloring, things like that. Though I just did relaxation audio, so maybe that's why I still feel calm. But at least doing the talking to myself didn't make me feel tense. So I wanted to mention that now before I forget.